Right, a very good evening and warm welcome to you, Zimbabwe. We have a show for you tonight here, pegged with the latest coming out of Zimbabwe. We call it OTS on the spot. Today, in the headlines, I'm promising you a show that is pegged with some of the craziest and the latest also coming out of Zimbabwe tonight. And thank you for joining us. It's a very good evening, exactly 10 p.m., where I'm coming to you live from. And I hope you are having a wonderful evening wherever you are. For those joining us down under, we understand it's quite early hours of the morning, and we say good morning to you. For those that are on the other side of the planet, Earth, we also want to say good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Tiri pano pachirongwa silapa kuhlelo rwatinenge takatarisa kuti zvatiri kuwana manerano zviri kubva kuzimbabwe zviri kuti chisikhangelane ngendaba yokuti esikutolayo okubvela kune zimbabwe in-news zakhona zithini tonight. So I just want to welcome you. Let's just jump right into this. I'm going to be moving very fast just to go to the latest news that we're receiving from Zimbabwe tonight. Let me just make sure that I've got all my cards here lined up for this show. I made sure that I had everything lined up. So I just want to make sure we are all together tonight. Let's start off with some of the work that we're doing for those that follow this channel. Zim Daily, we are working on a brand new and very shiny website. You can actually see it on your screen. This is actually something that we've been working on for quite some time. We are revamping, as you know, for those that follow us on our Facebook page for the past week or two, we have been giving you a teaser of what exactly is going on behind the scenes. So what you're seeing right now is some of the work that we've been doing in the background. We have revamped or actually rebranded ourselves to Zimbabwe Daily. I know some of you who have been following us for some time will know very well that this journey, we started it almost 18 years ago in 2002. And it has been such a lovely ride so far, and we have never relented. And I know very well that it's been a tough journey, but this year we've decided to rebrand. So Zim Daily will still be one of the brands that we identify with, but we are going to be calling ourselves more and more Zimbabwe Daily. So what you're seeing on the screen is actually some of the work that we're doing behind the scenes. I can maybe just go run through with you. This is quite a shiny to get it a website here to to ensure that we move into the next century well prepared. And it bata pano pa Zim Daily, Zimbabwe Daily, sekunzwa kumaita pane zvinhu zvatatichita say your favorite news channel. We have been working behind the scenes, tanga tichishanda nditika vakomana vari pabasa. We have been busy rebranding ourselves. Besisebenza sizama ukuthi sikulungisile phathele iwebsite entsha elibona ku screen lapha hiyo website yakhona. There's still stuff that we're still doing behind the scenes. It's been quite a journey. We have been around for almost 18 years now. We have had our ups and downs, but this year I'm promising you that we are actually rebranding or resurfacing. I remember the days when Zim Daily used to be the talk of the town. You know, if you wanted the latest, or if you quite a lot of you guys relied so much on us for news. But things haven't always been. We have grown, and some of us have had families of our own. I think when we started, we were just boys at the time, and things have happened over the years, and we want to thank God for leading us throughout these years. And this is another chapter we're opening. We are starting a new journey, and this website, you're going to be seeing it being rolled out from next week. We are hoping that you're going to love the new website. I can just go through with you. One of the things that you see on the screen here is the fact that we now call ourselves Zimbabwe Daily, and it's Zimbabwe Mazuva Ese. I remember my good friend, this guy used to follow quite a lot, Madinda Nsuku Zonke. Was it Madinda or Willard? One of the two, but there always used to be one guy in Bonds and Suguzongi. Mazwaisi, Zimbabwe Daily. Mazwaisi, Zimbabwe Daily in Suguzongi. Service Buyagini in Suguzongi. So, it's actually kind of a snippet of the work that we've been doing behind the scenes. What you're going to be seeing, you're on the top left side of our brand new shiny website. You're going to see our logo. That's the new logo there, Zimbabwe Daily. And just below that, we're trying to reduce quite a lot of clutter. Here you have our menus. Our 4 main menus are here. Oh, sorry, not 4. I think we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 menus, and we are simplifying things. And home, showbiz, news alerts, top stories, international news, opinions, and contact us are the things that are going to be at the top. At Wandisa Zunu, Shakanyanya Pasem website, and we're just trying to make sure that we don't have clutter on the new website. And the left is like this show that we're running currently. As soon as it ends, a video clip automatically gets added on the left. The last show we ran was on Saturday, The Bible and Me, where we get to talk about some of the things that affect us as Zimbabweans and also as Christians. We ran this show, The Bible and Me, over the weekend. So all the videos that we run, you're going to be seeing them on the left of the website. I think we have an afternoon worship that we ran the other day as well, that is also going to be appearing. As we go through today's news headlines, we just thought we could start with breaking news to those that have been following us for some time. I know it's been quite a bit for you guys. You've been waiting for us to launch this new site for the past 2 weeks. We have given you a teaser. A brand new website is coming, and we have now come to a place where we can launch it. Next week, you're going to be seeing this new website rolled out. One of the things that you also be seeing on the new website is the fact that we are trying by all means to be next gen. And it next gen meaning kuti next generation, whatever we're doing, takatarisira kumberis kangelele kusasa. So social media is going to be a big thing in the way we deliver news here on Zimbabwe Daily. So what you're seeing here on the right of the screen is a lot of what's happening in the social media space. So we've got our Zim Daily page there, 206,000 followers, thanks to you, Zimbabwe. It's been quite an awesome journey for the past whatever years we have been coming to you. And also on the right, you can see we have all the tweets that we run, and anything that we tweet automatically gets added to the right pane of this page. And then the news headlines, we will run a 4 headline news slider, like the one that you're seeing here. As you click on the slider, it will be rotating like that. This is actually something that I could spend the whole day doing. So we have a lot of new things coming up. I think if I can maybe go into one of the articles, let's click on this one just to show you some of the stuff that we are doing with the new website. This is today in the headlines on the spot. I just wanted to spend a few minutes just to give you kanonzikanzwisa of some of the stuff that we have been doing here on your favorite channel. Sakatine, the season 10s. This is an article done by Eddie Cross over the weekend. We've just been playing around with this article just to make sure that the delivery of the article and also the presentation and all the nice things that come with it is right on the spot. On the left, you will see actually the number of followers that we have across the social media platform. We've got Instagram as well, and YouTube, and a few other social media sites that we operate from. So the numbers, as we finish the website, we're going to add all of them. You will see that we potentially can reach at least 236,000 people every time we go live. Okay, and one thing that I actually enjoy is the fact that we have managed to integrate WhatsApp into the website. What we're trying to do here is to get we want to promote citizen journalism. Anyone who wants to submit anything to us, in real time. We are going to be, there is a WhatsApp number embedded to this website, so you can just go away on the bottom left where it says WhatsApp us here. You will see that we have a statement here that says we strongly believe in citizen journalism. Please send us pictures, video on anything Zimbabwe. What we're also trying to do here is, hopefully with time, we'll be able to remunerate those that will send us stuff, because as we become bigger and bigger, we're going to also be able to remunerate anyone who sends us anything. So for a small fee, if you send us a picture, we will send you something for that. If you send us a video, we'll send you also something small. We are not promising you heaven on earth, but you will receive something for submitting stuff to us. So that's one way of actually getting in touch. In fact, there is this number is 24/7 live, and you will be more than free to work with us to ensure that we promote citizen journalism. Also on the bottom right, that's another way of getting in touch with us. There's a WhatsApp icon as well. Anything, videos, pictures, or anything on Zimbabwe, we will be more than willing to hear from you. Like I said, initially we may not be able to give you anything, but with time, at least we should be able to give you something for submitting stuff to us. Also, you will see that, like I said, this is a next generation website we're working on. There's going to be a few other things that you will see. It's quite social media centric. So you find social media icons. Telegram is actually one of the growing platforms where you can essentially do some private stuff. If you send a message on Telegram, it's almost impossible for anyone to trace. So you find that more and more people are moving to Telegram just for privacy. Kana mchida kuti utumire message yaunoziva kuti wawatumira newe atumira ndimega munoona message yo. Telegram is one such utility that you could leverage. So we want to encourage you to use Telegram. WhatsApp also offers end-to-end encryption. It's also a good platform, but I would recommend Telegram, as Telegram kind of, there isn't a way of even them Telegram people say there's no way that they can even trace the origin of the message. So if you want privacy, we are not saying you do illegal things, but if you want privacy, obviously Telegram is one app that you want to have on your phone. There is also support for SMS. So if you want to SMS us something, also, in fact, these social media buttons that you're seeing here are actually for sharing. So if you want to SMS the article that you're reading to any of your friends, if you want to share it on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and many other social media websites, you will be more than free to do so. So there is also tweets here on the left. So in a nutshell, this is something that we're working on, and hopefully by the end of the coming week, by the end of this week, which is tomorrow, and we are hoping to launch this at some point early next week. So thank you for the support you have given us over the years. Like I said, this is has been an 18 years journey, and it's been rough, but we want to thank God that we're still here and we can continue to deliver news in a way that you will appreciate. We also want to advise you that we have a new team, an editorial team. We have a new editor that is going to be appointed as we launch this new website, and we have a few reporters that do file for us in and outside Zimbabwe. So there is quite a lot of exciting things that are coming up for in a time like this. So thank you, Zimbabwe. As we go back now to the kune zvatasanganirana nhasi, handiti tikati tiri pano pachirongwa chinonzi On the Sport today in the headlines. What's been happening in Zimbabwe tonight? One of the things that I like doing, if you may also want to copy me on this, the easiest place to get the latest news on Zimbabwe is Twitter, because Twitter is pretty much that's what it is for, right? Updates, if you want to send an update and all that kind of stuff, you would jump onto Twitter and find out what's been happening in Zimbabwe. By the way, I'm also sharing here our new a Twitter page. We've got 30,000 followers, like I said, and we've been running since 2009. I think we were one of the first few people to join Twitter. So that gives us what, almost 11 years now. And we've not been paying much attention on what's happening. And as you know, Twitter is not that, well, it's at least for us at some point, it wasn't that user friendly, but we are starting to embrace it now. So you'll be seeing quite a lot of stuff happening. As you can see, we are also live here on Twitter. This is the stream that we're running on Twitter right now. And it has, as I'm sharing whatever you're seeing on the screen, you're also seeing it here. So this is us in 2020 onwards. We have rebranded. We are starting on a new page. So let's look at the latest news from Zimbabwe on the spot today in the headlines. This is what I would advise you to do if you want to know what's happening or what's been happening the latest. So you would go on Twitter and then you would click at latest, and then anything Zimbabwe kind of comes up. But I want to go on the top headlines here. One of the things that struck me actually is the story here. This is Hopewell Chungono in leg irons. I think it was the day before yesterday. Quite a lot of you saw this, and there was quite some interesting comments. As you can see, this is one man who decided to speak truth to power and ended up in leg irons. As you can see him on the screen here, we are seeing the persecution of an innocent man here. He is in leg irons. I think his spirit is broken. I believe he is trying by all means to stay afloat. To those that pray, please, we want to encourage you to pray for this man. If there is anything that we need to be praying for in Zimbabwe, I know there are many others that have been persecuted and are also undergoing the same issues that Hope is actually going through right now. Let us not only pray for Hope, but everyone that is suffering at the hands of the current regime. Let's remember them in our prayers. I know there's some of us who say prayer doesn't work. Fair enough. Not those who believe that prayer works. Please remember this man. You can see he's very dejected, and I'm told he's in good spirits. He has to, for the sake of the fight that he's fighting, because one of the things that the regime will try and do is to break you to the point that you feel broken and you do not want to continue. I think they're trying to set an example for everyone, even for those that are watching from the terraces. You are watching him going through you are watching, they're deliberately making sure that you see this so that we become fearful and we go back in our shells. So I hope no one will buy that. And the fight for Zimbabwe is a fight for life. I know that when we say fight here, we're not saying violence. And we are fighting even through whatever means in a peaceful way. Some of the things that you could do as you fight for the cause is obviously to speak the truth. Hopewell, we know very well, this is one of the things that he has been incarcerated for coming out and just speaking the truth. As you know, it's a very evil world, and people that are meant to be in prison are the ones that are running the country, and those that are in prison are the ones that are meant to be running the country, if I can put it that way. So that's a major story. I think we have been following it the past few weeks. It's such a sad scene as we look at this man whom pretty much all of us would wake up every morning to try and find out what Hopewell has posted on his on his social media side. This is where we were getting our news, and he was right on the ball with pretty much everything that he was sharing. And we know that the health minister actually lost his job because of some of the revelations or some of the stuff that Hopewell was working on. So we want to thank God. I hope the time that he has spent in prison they've not tried to squeeze as much information. They're probably holding him there to point where they've tortured him and asked him to release or to hand over the passwords and pretty much everything that he knew in terms of the sources that he was working with. And those sources, as we talk tonight, they might actually be in serious problem, or they could actually be in prison without necessarily us knowing, because they could just be nobodies that, I mean, at least hope the world knows about him, but the sources that were giving him the information could just be undergoing a lot of persecution right now. So let's remember them as well. Tonight, I just wanted us to start with that story, Hopo Chingono, who has gone through quite a lot. I think if there is one man that has suffered in the recent history, well, at least the past few days that we've been watching this ugly movie, right. All right. I'm just going to go to the comments here. I'm getting a bit of some distraction here. Okay, let's see what our community is saying. Vuga Vuga, I love this platform. I have my own platform, but I'm in love with this. Thank you very much for such a wonderful message. I hope we can, as we launch or relaunch or rebrand, we will be able to bring you the best. And as we strive always to be number one, I don't think we're striving for any other position apart from the top position. So we thank you for the support that you are rendering to us. We feel quite energized by your comment. Thank you very much, Vuga Vuga. And you have been a fan, yeah, for I believe for as long as it has taken you. So tinotenda shukuru siyabonga kakhulu Zimbabwe for the support that you've given us over the years. So let's go to the next story that I want to look at here. So this is from Lerato. Zimbabwe is facing a human rights crisis. This picture brought me to tears. I think just looking at this picture and looking at the man, if you can actually zoom in, you can see even I understand he's not being allowed. You know, some of the tactics they use is to ensure that you do not, even your hygiene is severely compromised. You know, I don't really want to paint a very bad picture, but this is how bad this regime is. But what Lerato is saying here, Zimbabwe is facing a human rights crisis. This picture brought me to tears. This man has been in prison for weeks for a crime he didn't commit. Please, can we keep fighting for his freedom? He took one for the team. We can't let him down. Thank you very much, Lerato. This is exactly what we need to be doing, supporting those that need our support. Right. So we will keep praying for Hopo Chingono. I understand the bail hearing has been postponed to next Monday. You would think that one of the reasons, in fact, the major reason why they arrested him or they put him in prison is because they are arguing that he was planning, or he was Diangari Mtungamiri with Demorai had been planned for July 31. But July 31 has gone. We are almost day 20. Today's day 20. Well, the 20th of August. Way past. We've gone past July 31. There's no reason whatsoever to keep holding him. And so, you know, courts in Zimbabwe are heavily compromised. I think that's one of the reasons why Beatrice Mtetwa lost her license, because she was arguing that what she is witnessing is not the practice or the delivery of justice, but persecution of those that do not agree with the regime. And I think the Constitution of Zimbabwe gives every Zimbabwean the right to disagree. You don't have to agree with your government. This is all enshrined in our Constitution, and this is what Hopo Chingono was exercising before he ended up in prison. So let's pray for him. Let's keep supporting a retweet or whatever you can do to support the cause. Let's do that. Also, looking at some of the headlines, we are looking Douglas Monzora. This is another circus happening in the MDC Tea Party. As you can see, Douglas Monzora, who Angane, you know, he has always had presidential ambitions and kind of felt that Chamisa was not the right person to take over from Tsvangirai. He thinks he is the right person. In fact, he has always wanted to be a leader. You can actually tell from the way he handles himself. So what he has been up to, according to Zim Live here, is the MDCT party's Douglas Monzora has recalled 6 more Harare councillors. You can imagine, you can't even imagine what is happening with Douglas Monzora. Munhu uya wekuti haana nyadzi anditi umuntu ongala nhloni. Munhu asina nyadzi. All right, we are not supposed to take a side, but this is an opinion. This is an opinion program, so we are not delivering news here. This is purely my opinion, so please bear with me. Douglas Monzora here, as you can see, he has recalled 6 more MDC councillors, and you wonder what is really going on here. MDCT and MDC Alliance are totally different parties, right? You have one guy who's recalling councillors from another party. Imagine. Kuti inini munu, let's assume kuti uri munhu weZoom. You are recalling ZANU members in parliament. You are saying kuti, yeah? You know, if in fact, let's not even go to Zoom. You know, ZANU and ZANU Ndonga. This whole thing of splitting parties, that's why you had ZANU Ndonga and ZANU PF. Imagine ZANU Ndonga recalling well, pretty much Robert Mugabe's, you know, Ndabanengi Stole actually was one of the founders of ZANU. Whatever they call ZANU today was founded by Ndabanengi Stole and the likes of Herbert Stepo and many others. Vanana Mugabe, vakazodaidzwa papaya, you know, these are people that vakazodaidzwa papaya. But vasvika manje, anditi kana muna asvika wanzi wakokwewa. You've been invited. This is exactly what happened. Imagine ZANU Ndonga Ndabanengi Stole recalling Mugabe to say, you know what, you are not part of, I mean, when we started ZANU, you were not there. In fact, Mugabe was not even there. He was part of ZAPU. If my history serves me well, he actually left ZAPU because he had more leadership ambitions than what was happening in ZAPU. Then he joined ZANU. Akazo it was secretary munhu anonyorawo nongodzikana vanhu vakuru vataura ndiwo nongochinzi chinyora pasi. But hauna kunzi dzipaka, hauna kunziridza, no wanzi ita say nyora. He became a secretary who would kind of keep the minutes of the meetings that ZANU were having back in 1960, whatever, early in the 60s. I believe ZAPU was formed in 1962. ZANU maybe 65. They're about one of the, yeah, this is not, yeah, don't nail me on this. I'm just, yeah, you can go and look it up, but it was back in the 60s. So this is exactly what's happening with the MDC. We see something here that is happening that is not right. And let's hear from you. If you're just joining us, we are right here on the spot. Today in the headlines, some of the news making the headlines coming out of Zimbabwe. If you are joining us, it's exactly 29 minutes after 10 p.m. from the part of the world where we're coming live to you from. Let's hear from you guys. If you're on our Facebook page, you're listening on Twitter. You're also, if you're joining us from other Facebook pages that we are collaborating with tonight, please, I would love to hear your comments, especially on the fact that our hero here, Hopewell Chimono, has suffered quite a lot. I would also love to hear from you on what's happening within the MDCT party. Imagine Kutimunageta Douglas Monzora, who failed to garner even, I think he contested the last, the MDC Congress, and he garnered a few handful votes. And now he's claiming to be the rightful kind of leader within the MDC. And we know what they've been trying to do here. The main MDC is to try and destroy the MDC alliance. But thank you for joining us. We're just going to take a short break and we will be right back. Please, let's hear your comments tonight. I would love to hear what your views are on what is happening or what is actually transpiring tonight in Zimbabwe. We'll take a short break and we will be right back. Right. Thank you very much for staying tuned to the program. We are right here live on Today in the Headlines. On the Spot is the title of the program tonight. Thank you very much, Zimbabwe. We're looking at the latest news from Zimbabwe here. Let's just go down through some of the articles that we have been looking at. There is a story that for those that have been listening to what's been coming out of the official the government spokesperson, we know that Monica Mutsvanga recently released a very scathing statement regarding, she was responding to what the Catholic bishops had said in terms of what's happening in Zimbabwe. Ma Catholic bishops akanyora akati no hatikubvumirana nezviri kuitika, sibvumelane lokwenzakalayo lapha eZimbabwe. And then Monica Mutsvanga, instead of responding, what does she do? She attacks the bishops. She starts telling them, yeah, you know, that ZANU-PF lingo and it, West, you're being used by the West and all that sort of nonsense. So we have seen that from this article that you're seeing on the screen here. Zimbabwe rejects the criticism from Catholic bishops. Zimbabwe's government has dismissed the letter by Roman Catholic bishops highlighting corruption, poverty, human rights abuses. There is no crisis, political or otherwise, said Information Secretary Nick Mangwana. He accused the Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops ZCBC conference of joining groups seeking to manufacture crisis. The bishops had called for an urgent resolution to the country's economic and political challenges. The struggle in Zimbabwe has resulted in a multi-layered crisis of convergence of the economic collapse, deepening poverty, food insecurity, and human rights abuses, said 7 bishops from Zimbabwe's main cities and towns in a letter released on Friday. So this letter was released last Friday, where they are basically saying, you know what, Zimbabweans have suffered, right? And then you have the likes of Nick Mangwana, who's pretty much spent almost 20 years outside Zimbabwe and then comes back to take over. I'm not sure where he lives in Zimbabwe. And Nick Mangwana, because I am very convinced that if you take a walk from Zimbabwe, you can tell even without necessarily being told that is unazonakumira mushi into as a manga kuhle, even mweya waunofema so unokudza kuti zona zvinakumira mishi. Saka Nick Mangwana says kuti there is no crisis, and it takambotaura isusu pano pachirongo. We once said on this very program that the moment if you're trying to help someone and they're telling you that there is no problem, and it paya mukasvika mukadzi nemurume vachinetsana, and one of the parties says there is no problem, and it umwe ari kuti pane problem, and then tomboti mudzimai ari kuti pane problem, murume ari kuti hapana problem, the situation then becomes very difficult because murume habatsiriki because ari kuti hapana problem, and yet the whole world sees kuti pane problem. Kana kuti pana vanhu vepa next door, abantu abaku next door bayabona kuti kule problem la, kube bahlala besizu umama umakhelwane nje beyezwa ukuthi lapha kule problem maybe umama wakhona uhlala ekhala usuku bonke buya bechayiwe kumbe kuyabe kwenzakaleni. Abantu sebezama ukuthi bencedisa nje ukuthi kukhangelwe indaba yakhona ukuthi ihamba njani. Ubaba ubesesithi hayi akula problem, but umama yena uthi yena kule problem. Nxa sokunjalo phela akusancedeka nje asichabetsiriki. You can't help the situation if one of the parties insists there is no problem. And that's what we are seeing from Mr. Mangwana here. He is insisting that there is no crisis, political or otherwise. And it even in Zimbabwe, we're not saying kuti Zimbabwe there is no home that has no problems. And at South Africa, good Jerusalem, we are still on this side of heaven. So pretty much each and every home has got its own problems. Ukanzwa munhu achiti hapana problem kana kuti mumba mangu handina problem, then there is a problem. So this type of vibe from Nick Mangwana actually tells us that there is a serious problem in Zimbabwe. Ukanzwa baba vepamba vachiti ndini baba panopamba. And it ungezwa ubaba esithi yena nxa ekhipha istatement yokuthi ngimi ubaba lapha ngekhaya nje, kuyabe sokule problem ngoba he understands ukuthi abantu are not recognizing that he's the father of the home. That's why he's kind of reinforcing that message and saying, I'm the father of this home. Ndini baba panopamba. And it so ukanzwa ZANU ichiti we are the ruling party, right? Then there is a problem because panenge patro ane problem yekuti vanhu havasi kukwanisa kunzwisa kuti matongera muri kuita ari kumbofamba sei. Anditi ukanzwa ndakuti ndini baba panopamba, I've actually failed to be a father in that home. So there you go. So the bishops from 7 provinces in Zimbabwe are pretty much saying, no, pane problem. But instead of sitting down and it munu anoremekedza vanhu, this is what a normal human being would do. Umuntu ohloniphayo. Ungezwa abantu besithi hayi sicela ukuthi sike sikhulume lawa nje kuloku yenza inkani. You then say okay, let's have a look at maybe panokuita naro and not okay, maybe maonere enyu nemaonere angu akasiyana, but ngatigare pasi tita say maybe you could fill us in kuti tiudzeiwo kuti nyaya chiri papi. But now you have an issue or a scenario where this guy says we don't even want to talk about it, right? We do not even want to talk about the crisis. So how do you help munhu akadaro ekuti ari kuramba kutaura? You can't get that person to talk, right? That's exactly what is happening here, where pretty much the bishops are saying kuti, or actually what is happening, I think you may not have been seeing this. Let me see if I can share the article that I was reading here. It pretty much went on to another screen, yeah. But zvantirikutaura panapa ndiyo yekuti the bishops are saying kuti kune problem in Zimbabwe, but hurumende iri kuti hapana problem. Anditika saka ndo zvatataura tikati prominent journalist Hope Chingone was charged last month with inciting public violence. He is still in detention after being denied bail. He had exposed alleged corruption. And the funny thing is, Edie himself, the president, even went to the point of dismissing his health minister for what he himself termed an endemic corruption within the country. And then you've got this spokesperson, Nick Mangwana, saying hapana crisis. I think, or there is not even any indication that there is a problem in Zimbabwe. So he had exposed alleged corruption in the health ministry during the purchase of medical supplies to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. What else did the bishop say? Vanhu vamwari vakati chi panyaya yatakatarisana nezvayo nasino indaba esiyikhangeleyo namhlanje bathi nama-bishops. So this is some of the things that were said by the bishops. Fear runs down the spine of many people today, and and ndofunga tinovumirana tese kuti ku Zimbabwe there is no freedom after speech, and it unokwanisa, in fact you are constantly self-regulating or self-filtering. Some of us have the luxury of saying anything because we are not within reach, but journalists generally in Zimbabwe operate from that angle where they self-regulate. They want to make sure that whatever they report, it will not end up getting them into trouble. People like Hopewell, who had the stomach to report without necessarily showing any fear, end up in jail. And it can those nopedzisira zvaitika iko cina kusenzakale ukuthi laba abasitshela ukuthi thina singamadoda civil, you end up in prison. So this is what the Catholic bishops are saying, that the fear is running down the spine of many of our people. The crackdown of dissent is unprecedented. Voices of various governments, the European Union, the African Union, even the African Union did something that was extraordinary this time. I remember during Mugabe's time, they totally refused to say that there was a problem in Zimbabwe. I remember vividly all their statements throughout the whole time Mugabe was in power. They were kind of quite measured in the way they would address the situation in Zimbabwe. But this time they took a different turn, and they clearly stated that there is a problem in Zimbabwe. And the UN, we saw a Zimbabwe human rights statement. The UN human rights statement on Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe have not only confirmed seriousness of human rights breaches by the government agents, but the need to rally behind. In fact, you have these agencies like the European Union hashtagging this, Zimbabwean Lives Matter. When you see the African Union also joining the bandwagon, then you know that there is a problem. But writing in the state-owned newspaper, Mr. Mangwana defended the government. Zimbabwe, like most countries in the world, is currently grappling with the challenges of illegal sanctions. This has been a song that we have heard, a song and a chorus we have all listened to for the past, I believe, how many years? Since maybe 2000, almost 20 years. This boring song of illegal sanctions. And this time they've even perfected their messaging by saying that coronavirus, they are blaming coronavirus for the challenges that people are facing in Zimbabwe. So there you go. So this is what spin doctors do. They basically are trained to say whatever or to toe the government line. Mr. Mangwana is just singing for his supper there. And we know that deep down, he knows that there is a problem. And one of the things that tells you that Mr. Mangwana knows there's a crisis is the fact that his own family lives in the UK. His children, his own wife and kids are in the United Kingdom, because he knows that Zimbabwe is not the best place to be. Right. So if Mr. Mangwana really, in fact, even the likes of Tuli Ngube, his wife lives in Switzerland, and he pretty much knows that he is living on borrowed time, that any time things could become quite dicey in Zimbabwe and he has to leave. So he keeps his family away from the noise or from the stuff that is happening in Zimbabwe. And this is what pretty much, we call them hypocrites. People who say one thing but act in a different way. That's what we see happening in Zimbabwe. Vana Mr. Mangwana, they vanongotaura kwataita kuti they are singing vakatarisa dumbu ravo vakuruma bekangeli sisu savo, and deep down they don't really believe what they are saying. He said that President Mnangagwa demonstrated his commitment to fight corruption, highlighting the arrest of high-profile individuals. I do not believe that the high-profile individuals that he's referring to here, the likes of what's his name? This guy who was Minister of Health, Obadiah Moyo. I don't even remember him spending a few minutes in remand prison. We know very well that he did not even spend a minute in prison, and yet the guy who exposed the corruption is languishing in prison right now. He's been there for almost, it's coming to 2 months now. So this is how, I mean, Mr. Mangwana, I don't know which hymn he's singing from, but it's definitely not the same one that many Zimbabweans are looking at. He's really, there is really a problem here. So he's trying to argue that high-profile individuals, we call it cosmetic justice. You know, you kind of try to put lipstick on a donkey just to make it look a bit nice. That's what Mr. Mangwana is trying to do. But we know that no matter how much lipstick you douse on a on a donkey, every normal or level-headed person in Zimbabwe knows that justice is applied or supplied selectively in Zimbabwe. There's justice for those that are against or anti-establishment, and then there is justice for those that do not agree with what is happening. Like the Catholic bishops, we know very well that they are, before they open their mouths, they are pretty much considered as the darling of the establishment. But the day they open their mouths, that's when they pretty much cut ties. And instead of trying to rehabilitate them or try to understand what's really going on, you know, the way ZANU-PF responds to things, just as there's one other article that we're going to look at, some guy called Tafazwa Mugwadi, I believe, is the director of whatever publicity and whatever he does in ZANU. He was caught on camera expressing some expletives, you know, things that you can print. So not even print. Aripa Al Jazeera. Then they had to release as a statement just to apologize, the first ever apology coming out of ZANU. So this is what we're looking at here tonight on the sports. Today in the headlines, we're looking at a story here. Zimbabwe rejects Catholic bishops' criticism. Let's hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think pretty much about what's happening in Zimbabwe. We've seen, we have all been angered by the way things have turned out in Zimbabwe. One other area that I want us to touch on as we look at the headlines today, there has been something that has generated quite a lot of interest around Professor Jonathan Moyo. So Professor Jonathan Moyo, as you know, many of you, that he is one of the voices that have arisen out there that are pretty much at the forefront of fighting what I would like to call the Zimbabwe cause. I think he has been quite outspoken. He doesn't agree with the current regime, and he's pretty much one guy that everyone is counting on right now if you wanted to find out what's happening or some of the things that are happening within ZANU. It was quite interesting, actually. It is quite interesting how much we've all embraced Professor Jonathan Moyo. He is now the de facto leader of this movement. He's pulling the strings, as especially the July 31 movement. I think he has come together with some of the like-minded people. I'm a bit wary of Professor Moyo. I think we have made our position very clear. But some of the arguments that we're hearing here is let's just give it a pass. I mean, let's forget about who Moyo is, who Jonathan Moyo is, and let's concentrate on bringing change to Zimbabwe. So I just want to highlight some of the tweets that we have been seeing from Professor Jonathan Moyo. Like I said, he's the guy who's kind of leading this movement. And we had a few Twitter exchanges, or at least we were looking, we have been adding quite a few things to the argument that Professor Moyo, to the fact that everyone is seeing Professor Moyo as the Messiah, in quotes, the Messiah that we've all been waiting for. So one of the things, at least our view on the whole matter, is the fact that Professor Jonathan Moyo is very tainted, right? I think as far as we're concerned, this is a guy who has got too much baggage to even be leading such a movement. And we know one of the reasons why he is so much at the forefront is because he's got a personal issued to deal with ED. I think they've never really had there's never really been good blood between him and ED. So, and we are arguing that much of the energy that we're seeing from Professor Moyo, it has nothing to do with ordinary Zimbabweans. This is a guy who's just using Zimbabweans as he justifies one of the reasons why the ZANU must go. He saved ZANU for pretty much almost 18 years. He was in ZANU PF, and he's responsible for some of the worst things that happened in ZANU. I think we pretty much went out and said single-handedly, I would argue that Professor Jonathan Moyo ZANU, it is what it is today because of Moyo. But yeah, people are saying, but hang on a minute, don't just, I mean, we can't just dismiss Moyo because he's a larger than life figure, right? That's the argument that we're receiving through Moyo. Moyo, we need them, right? Then we make sure that they once kanatasvika kuKenani tinongozwa shamari iwo zvatasvika kuKenani panapa nxa sesifikile lapha eKenani umoyo sizati kumoyo ndoda sicela thank you very much ngokusinceda lokho you know watibetsera tikasvika kuno kuKenani but thank you and no thanks, right? That's the argument that we are hearing, that we want to get to a point where let's whatever, every little helps. Kana Moyo, even if Moyo has got personal fights with ED, yeah, that's fine, but he is also contributing to the cause. This is the argument that I think to some extent it does make sense, because you want to make sure that you've got all hands on the decks, right? You want to make sure that you're pulling from all cylinders, you're pushing and pulling from all cylinders. And even though Moyo's cylinder is kind of a bit you know what I mean, but we need him. Yeah, this is the argument that we are receiving, but we try to come up with a spirited argument that, you know what, what we are trying to say is Vanwageta Samoyo, we don't need them. Honestly, they are better people to help us in this fight, but I think we've lost that argument, and I personally accept that we are losing it from what we are hearing from some of the comments that we are seeing. Is everyone is pretty much saying this is not the time. This is not the time. Kana tazoshika, you know, those kana muchizama kuti I'm just trying to think how best I can put this without actually appearing a bit, yeah. Okay, let's just say kuti mbava mbiri dzaenda kuti dzinoba bank, breaking into a bank, maybe not mbava, but all right, let's say you've been planning to break into a bank. Obviously you are saying kuti for that to succeed you need to be united, right? You are not we are not promoting Kuba, but you get the point. Otherwise, if you're not united, you end up in a situation where we can deal with Moyo once we are on the other side of freedom. Yes, I think the example that I gave here may not really be a relevant one, but it is what it is. Let's hear from what others are saying here. No, it was Peter. It was Peter Ndlovu Nsukuzonke. Okay, thank you very much for that. I think I made reference to Nsukuzonke. Peter Ndlovu, who was the Nsukuzonke guy, ndiye munhu ainzi mazuva ese, because ainzi akabata bora Peter Ndlovu mazuva ese, he would score, right? Munhu aigoesa mazuva ese. Nsukuzonke, Peter Nsukuzonke Ndlovu. That doesn't sound right. Was it Peter? Madinda Nsukuzonke Ndlovu. Peter Nsukuzonke. Okay, that I'll give you. Or Willard Nsukuzonke Kumar. All right, one of the two. One of the three was in Nsukuzonke there. We'll see where that will take us. All right, let's go back to our headlines here. Saga Yamoyo, like I said, that's a lost cause. We need Moyo. That's what we're hearing from pretty much all and sundry. People are fully behind Professor Moyo. They are saying, let's use him. But when it comes to sharing the spoils, and it tashika manji ku Jerusalem, you remember iskati waqeda sona ukuzana nje so nje usincedile lapha but siza kunika lawe nxa angama-bands nxa sinikana ama-bands kana tichipana nama-bands paipe tasvika kujerusalem moyo tichazongomumheduriro kakona kefufu and toti thanks but no thanks and but iko zvino tinomuda moyo. That's what everyone is saying. All right, so we'll end it on that. Let's use Professor Jonathan Moyo until we have arrived. Kana tasvika kukenani tozomuti moyo iwewe fufu iri. Yeah, this is ndo unonzi mugove wako, and this is at least we'll give him a crumb of just to say to him thank you very much for helping us. But it might be too late, you know. And these are guys that know how to move fast, and by the time we realize kuti patinompa fufu anenge atobata raw phrase. So let's try by all means to avoid that. So thank you very much, Zimbabwe. Let's hear also some of the comments. Guamatanga Arguti as well, lack of priority, and we're coming to the story here, Guamatanga, here on the spot today in the headlines. We are looking at Tawananya Etangata Katarisa. One of the interesting stories actually that is coming out of Zimbabwe is this story here that you're looking Yamagatarisa on the screen. So this happened today, and it COSATU and ZCTU webinar in solidarity with the workers of Zimbabwe. So COSATU, as you know, it's one of the biggest component of the ANC. In fact, ANC is a labor movement, and COSATU, I believe, it's they in terms of votes, they actually bring the biggest chunk of votes to the ANC. So they sit pamamonya ipapo ndo pavanenge vari vanhu vekuCOSATU and it. So they had a talk here where they are pretty much not happy with what's happening in Zimbabwe. So they are saying end violence in Zimbabwe. So when we hear from the likes of COSATU, and we had someone representing the ANC also, this is a talk. We have Justina Mukoko also on the panel. Saga, we are seeing all this. The president of COSATU was also one of the speakers. So they are speaking against what is happening in Zimbabwe. We all want a better Zimbabwe. It starts with openly discussing the problems. And this is at least, the problem that we're having today is ZANU doesn't want to talk. We are, that type of a bully that says, ndokurova ibhuli leliyana elihlale ukuthi hayi phela mina ngiyakujaya nxa sosithi asihlale phansi phela sikhulume liyabe lisala ukukhuluma. And this is what ZCTU, which is also holds quite a huge stake in the opposition movement. I think the actual MDC was formed from this labor movement. ZCTU is the one that actually became MDC, as far as I remember. They are coming together with COSATU, which is also quite a big movement. I think it's the biggest labor union in Africa, COSATU, and they had a meeting where they are in solidarity with the people or the workers of Zimbabwe. So we are seeing quite a lot of pressure coming from far and wide. It's quite interesting, and we will see. Tichaona kuti tumbone dowe zvicha tisvitsa kupi. One interesting article actually that came out today. As you know, ZANU yakaoma. So after those Catholic bishops released a statement pretty much saying Zimbabwe, we cannot carry on like this. What does ZANU do? ZANU goes and looks for the likes of Vanana Mutendi, Bishop Mutendi, these are guys that are heavily compromised. Then they went behind the scenes. You had never heard of this movement, by the way, until today. Zimbabwe Indigenous Interdenominational Council of Churches. And indigenous churches preach peace. So these guys actually came out guns blazing today. I saw a picture somewhere where they came out in support of ZANU. As you know, tsvaga kuti vangaite sei kuti varatidze kuti, you remember the Million Man March, whenever Mugabe would receive a bit of blows, he would then go and say, Gatwa gave 1 million so that we can show the world, could I still have the support? This is exactly what is happening with Mangwana and his ZANU. So they went and looked for indigenous, whatever they're calling these guys, who came out and preached some sort of whatever. Yeah, it's sad because this is the guy who's saying there's no crisis. And why would these guys be preaching peace when they are saying things there is no crisis, or even there is no, yeah. But as you know, ZANU contradicts itself. In fact, the article says members of the Zimbabwe Indigenous Interdenominational Council of Churches do not share perverse. Let me just put this article for you on the screen so that you can follow. Quite interesting, this article that came. Okay, let's have a response to the Catholic bishops. And they came up with this indigenous, whatever it is, do not share perverse desires for conflict, as in the case with some of the religious organizations, but prefer to work together with the government to build a bright future for the nation. Addressing a press conference in Mutare yesterday, Zik spokesman Reverend Andrew Utaunashe, this is one of the most compromised bishops in Zimbabwe. Utaunashe was probably called and said, no, can you respond to the Catholic bishops? And Utaunashe sekuziva kwatinoita munhu uyo anodya nezano panenge pakagara patebhuri yezano pachidyiwa paipa vana Utaunashe vanenge varipo ava tinovaziva handitka. So he's this whatever indigenous organization that was probably formed just to respond to the Catholic bishops. Never heard of it. Might have existed, yeah, but we know Reverend Utaunashe said, as servants of God, they will never call on people to revive old grudges or wounds, right? Bishop Utaunashe varikuti izvo zvinhu zvakaitika kugara, and it let bygones be bygones. Kana vanhu vakatadzirana kudhara ngavachisiyana nevakadara. His sentiments follow the publication of a pastoral letter titled "The March is Not Ended" by the Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops' Conference, which also received support from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches. The pastoral letter also resonates with the country's opposition parties. And this idea that it is only the opposition or you have to be in some bed with the opposition for you to understand people are suffering in Zimbabwe is a problem in itself, because why wouldn't anyone in any country, if I were in Zimbabwe, I don't need the opposition to tell me I'm suffering, right? I can tell from the way things are going that. So the idea that you need or the West or the opposition to tell you Zara is kind of ridiculous, at least to me, yes. So we take strong exception to and categorically dissociate ourselves from calls by certain religious leaders to march against the government and to reignite conflicts and wounds of the past. What means wounds of the past? They do not want to reignite wounds. They don't even want to talk, you know. If you're going to ask for forgiveness, and it, in fact, muBhayibheri chaimo munotaurwa kuna Reverend Utaunashe varikuzama kuti is trying to tell the biblical line here. The Bible itself says if someone has been wronged, notaura kuti mukanetsana vanhu vaviri endai munogara pasi muzame kuti magadzirisa nyaya yenyu, right? Nxa abantu abangituli ngaba le problem iBhayibheli likhuluma ukuthi zamani ukuthi lihlalisane phansi and libona ukuthi iproblem yakhona lingayikwanisa ukuyisolve yini. Nxa selihleli laphana umuntu lowana engabalenkani engathi yena hayi yena akafuna ukuhlala lami phansi. You know, if the guy says, you know, he does not want to talk, the Bible says go and look for another person. And it wechitatu kuti akubetsere kuita sei mugadzirise nyaya yacho. But vana Utaunashe vari kuti no, let us not even talk. And it kana inini ndatadzirwa, no, that's a bygone, let's move on. So from which God answered our prayers by bringing political leaders to the negotiation where reconciliation was achieved. I don't know what he's talking about. Please do not reverse the good that God has done. Our response as God's servants should not be to call people to revive old grudges, but rather to urge people to forward in peace. All right, so there you go. This is a response. Utaunashe, the moment I figured out it was coming out of Utaunashe's mouth, this is a mouth that is very compromised. Saka mune makangotarisirwa kuti zvichabuda apo zvinenge zvakatarisa dumbu rake. He's not genuinely saying things to defend the people, but he's defending his stomach. We are right here on Behind the Headlines. Today in the headlines, looking at the latest coming out of Zimbabwe. We are going to look at one or two other articles before we call it an evening. But there you go. Hopewell Chingono is still in remand prison, or is actually in the high security prison in Zimbabwe. We've looked at the letter by the Catholic bishops. We have also looked at the response from ZANU. The aligned ZANU bishops like Andrew Utaunashe. We've got Vana Guti. Ezekiel Guti is one of them. Vana Bishop Mtendi. Pretty much, you know, every bishop in Zimbabwe that is prominent is not saying anything. You know, they say kuti kunyarara zvakafanana nekutaura. You know, in the work of pain and suffering, if you just choose to be silent, you're actually complicit with whatever whoever is perpetrating these acts of evil. Saka kunevaya vanonyarara kana zvinhu zvakaipa zvichiitika, you're actually saying something. You're basically saying you support what is going on. Right. Pedzisai Ruhanya, this is quite a prominent guy. Harare Magistrate Court, Angoni Nduna, we held down on Monday next week the bail hearing. This is the guy who dismissed Beatrice Mtetwa, by the way. And I'm told this is a CIO from Mashonaland West. He has been in the CIO for quite some time before he was seconded to be a magistrate. And he has been doing ZANU bidding. He's pretty much done well. I think they're going to have him promoted soon. This guy, pretty much he's the guy who is constantly postponing the bail hearing or coming up with some flimsy reasons why the case cannot go ahead. It goes all the way to dismiss a prominent lawyer under the guise that lawyer is pretty much discussing what is happening in court on social media. But you cannot blame Beatrice Mtetwa. A court is an open court. They report on social media. So the fact that someone is running a page called Beatrice Mtetwa doesn't necessarily mean it's Beatrice Mtetwa. But the guy looked for some funky, flimsy reason to dismiss her. And we know Beatrice is, I think she's challenging that dismissal, but we'll see what's going to happen in the next few days. So today marks a month since Chingono was arrested. So when was this? Maybe today, yes, the 19th. So he was arrested. We're going into the second month now, and it is what it is. What is also interesting is what Hillary Clinton said today. As you can see here, it's August 19, 2020. This is not today, sorry, yesterday. August 19, 2020 at 5:24 p.m. yesterday. This was a statement released by Hillary Clinton. She says, I'm calling for the government of Zimbabwe to release all political prisoners, including Godfrey Kuraone. I don't know who this Godfrey Kuraone is. Let's find out. We will find out very soon. But he seems to be quite prominent. All right. So this guy, Godfrey Kuraone. Okay. So this is an MDC alliance. Okay. MDC Alliance National Youth Organizer. All right. Okay. So the gentleman is getting some support from Hillary Clinton. So thank you very much, Mama Clinton, for coming out in support of some of the persecuted in Zimbabwe. And this is, I believe, the likes of Fadzai Mahere have a relationship with Hillary Clinton, so they would have reached out to her to just try and ask her to bring at least the Zimbabwe cause, to the world attention. So Godfrey Kurawone, we're praying for him and we hope that he will be okay. Right, so we have Wellens Mujuru. I believe this is my Mujuru's son responding, and also Dr. Nkululeko Subanda and more people here. Right, okay. There you go. So Hillary Clinton, thank you very much, Mama Clinton, for the support that you are rendering to Zimbabwe. Okay, let's go further down here and look at the last article for tonight here on the spot. On Zim Daily, we are looking at, we've looked at the response, or at least some of the support that Zimbabweans are receiving from prominent people in the world, like Hillary Clinton. Let's look at Obed Gutu. In fact, as we sign out tonight, this is a statement from a guy who's been quite aloof, if I can put it that way. He has not really been saying much since remember, he was the vice president of the so-called MDCT led by Thokozani Kupe. They ran a congress in Bulawayo, and I believe he was elected vice president. But since that time, we have not heard from Obed Gutu. I don't know what is happening with him. I think he has fallen out with Kupe because we know, as far as we know, Kupe is the president. I've not heard if there's a vice president somewhere, but we know that there is a secretary general and a chairman. Obed Gutu is actually supposed to be the vice president, but we are not hearing much. But listen to what he's saying here. The narrative that there is a crisis in Zimbabwe has offered big bucks, right? Crisispreneurs. These people have raised millions of US dollars over the past 2 decades as they aggressively push the crisis in Zimbabwe narrative. It has become a lucrative enterprise. Right. You it's quite interesting from actually coming from a former MDC spokesman who used to I remember watching him on channels like Al Jazeera, where he would have pretty much had very serious issues with the statement that he's spewing right now. He knows very well that what he is talking about is not true, because we know the US will follow every penny. Whenever they give money out, they need accountability, and they will do everything they can to ensure that they get that accountability back. But we know there is a crisis in Zimbabwe. Obed Gutu, muna akadyiswa nditi muna poor and the rumor chamari. What is accusing others of is exactly what has happened with him. Muna akapuwa chekuruma nezano kuti ataure zvinhu zvakadai. Munhu uya kuti he would rather be in the enemy's or in the devil's camp than to see Chamisa leading the country. Akavenga Chamisa to the extent that he would rather have the most evil person on the planet run the country than to have, because he thinks he's the one who deserves to be the leader of the opposition. So you see, this is pretty much someone who is not, there's no substance in what he's saying. He's pretty much, he has got some personal issues that he's dealing with these former colleagues, and he has decided to tell the ZANU line that people have raised millions over the past 20 years. I believe he is indirectly, this that is aimed at the likes of Tendai Biti and the like. I think these are people that are being referred to as crisispreneurs. Every time when ZANU gets a chance, they will tell us that Tendai Biti and Chamisa can have, if they are running low, they go to the US and say there's a crisis, and then US gives them money. Imagine the US is an embassy in Zimbabwe. They don't need Chamisa or BT to tell them that there is a crisis. They have a team in Zimbabwe that knows what happens day and night in Zimbabwe. that's the job of the ambassador, right? To be able to understand where things are and what is going on. They don't need Chamisa or even BT to tell them they've got people on the ground that know exactly what's happening. So thank you very much. That's Mr. Gutu. There's quite a lot of comments that are coming out in response to what Mr. Gutu is saying here. It is quite interesting. Let's look at the comments from you guys. Your facts are very wrong. That church group, Yema Indigenous, has always been there. Thank you very much for that correction. I think I would. It probably existed, but it is the first time I'm hearing of them. So I should have made that clear. Thank you very much for that correction. If they have been around, at least I am coming across the group today. Yeah, that's the point that I was making. So Andrew Utaunashe, I think you're responding to the fact that I'd say that the group he represents is a new group. Okay, I will give you that. Thanks for your comment. And Emmanuel Nyakonda says, nonetheless, it's propaganda. All right, thanks, Emmanuel, also for your comment there. And it's wrong to say that Vanauta Onashe were hired. They always support indigenous ideas. Okay, yeah, Matthias is really taking this a little bit further. I think you agree with me that with Utaunashe is. You may not want to see this, but anyone who comes out in support of one side is, as far as I'm concerned, is heavily compromised. Why have we not heard from Utaunashe coming out there to say that Zimbabweans are suffering? Because he knows that the moment he says that, and this is a fact, I mean, ask anyone, people on the ground, even those in the diaspora that have to deal with the situation in terms of supporting families in Zimbabwe, everyone knows, because Tinea Amandit to Zimbabwe, everyone has got relatives in Zimbabwe. So why is it Utaunashe sticks his head in the sand and then you will never hear him Ajitaura at least be, come out once and say no, and it, but Matthias Maonde Rako. Let's see also what we are hearing here. CIA judge, we are not going anywhere. So you're commenting on the fact that the judges and the courts in Zimbabwe, and this is a question that Hopewell, I think, was kind of pushing the few weeks, the week or two before he was arrested. He kept on, because I used to follow him, and I was one of his few disciples, if I can put it that way. I'm not going, well, followers, not in the sense of discipleship, but he basically was saying, Kuti, why do we have people continuing to fight cases in the courts where they know that the outcome is already determined, right? You know very well, Kuti, if you go into a ZANU PF court, you can pretty much tell, Kuti, nyayacho ichaperase, right? And Hopewell Chingono actually articulated this quite well, and he was arguing that it doesn't make sense because you keep Mnogara Mchirowa, or you go for elections, then you go to a ZANU court. The ZANU court then pretty much offers a non-judgment, and then we cry foul, then we go back again. So that's a story for another day. But I think we all agree, Kutima judges in Zimbabwe, they leave a lot to be desired. I wouldn't personally bring a case before, especially a political case, before as ZANU judge, if I can avoid it. But obviously, in the case of Hopewell Chingono, he does not have any other option but at least to try and fight it in the same compromised courts. But if all I'm saying here is, if you have the luxury of choice, where you can choose whether to go to a ZANU court, what I would love to term as ZANU, pretty much all the courts in Zimbabwe, when it comes to political issues, or even issues that have got nothing to do with politics, there is always a political dimension. They will try to see whether there's some political dimension to the case before they pass a judgment. So this is the predicament that we're in. Tiripa, we're between a rock and a hard place. How do we deal with courts that we know are very well are compromised? Yeah, let's hear from you. I'd love to hear your views on this. I know it's not a difficult or a black and white issue. You are talking of people's lives here, and sometimes you have to deal with the same courts that are compromised. What are your views on this? Let's hear from you. If you want to contribute, please feel free to use our comment section. Let's hear what you think. Should we continue bringing these cases to ZANU-PF courts? There is no doubt this is, while I agree that every justice system is kind of compromised. This is why they tell you in the US the biggest or the most important decision that an American president can ever make or is to appoint a Supreme Court judge, right? Because they know that if that judge is a conservative, for example, in the case of Trump, where he has been appointing conservative judges, they are going to rule based on what conservatives, this is how the court system works worldwide. But in some countries, it is worse than in some. I think, especially in the US, things used to be quite in the center a few years ago. But what you are seeing, at least the past few years, is there is now left and right. So there is no one. I remember at the time when I used to follow American politics, you would have, the Democrats. You couldn't tell the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. But if you look at the politics in America today, you've got the Democrats on the left, and you have the Republicans on the right. There's no one on the center anymore. The same situation that you have in the UK. You have, I would say, the Labour, which used to be a center, kind of center left party, has gone way to the left, and then you have the Conservatives who are kind of center right. This is exactly how politics shapes things in basically in pretty much every country. So we know that in the US, for example, a Supreme Court judge is going to their own understanding or their experience or their view of things is what determines the outcome of a case. It's got nothing to do much, especially the past few days. There isn't really much about what the law says. There's a lot of as long as they can justify it. I was reading a judgment that was passed by the Supreme Court recently around the issues whether churches could be allowed to open or close in the midst of a crisis. So there is, as you know, that there's a separation between the church and the state, so that the state does not determine how the church operates. So it's not something that should be dictated. The church is separate from the state, and there's freedom of worship and all that. But because of the pandemic, and because you have all these left-leaning judges that are presiding over cases where they really want to push one side of the argument, you have them passing a law that says, or agreeing with some of this was a case that was brought to the Supreme Court to kind of litigate on an issue around whether churches could be forced to close in the midst of a pandemic. Then what happens is they passed and said, yes, the state can force even churches to close. Something that was unprecedented. You would never, 10 years ago, the Supreme Court would not have passed a judgment on matters of faith, because there is that separation between the church. That it is entirely up to the church to decide whether they want to open or not. In fact, this church was saying that if people are being allowed to protest, right, we want to open, we want to follow the social distancing laws and all that kind of stuff, and be allowed to open, right, and run our church services. Why can we not also practice social distancing? We wear masks and then we continue with our worship services. And the judge pretty much says, no, you are not allowed to do that. But you have movements that are constantly running. In fact, right now, as we speak in the US, there are daily protests of, where you see people, there's no social distancing, there's no what. Those are allowed to protest, but anyone who wants to go into a church is told that they cannot. So that's another story for another day. Let's hear what Matthias Mawonde it is saying. If we manage to deal with the political crisis, Matthias Mawonde is saying that it's wrong to say that Vanauta Nation were hired, they always support indigenous churches. Thanks for that. And also I'm hearing a comment here from David Bendez. If we manage to deal with the political crisis, everything will not be difficult. We will not start with the concord. All right, so that's a comment there from David. Thank you very much, and thank you, Zimbabwe, for listening to the show. This is where we are now coming to the end of the show tonight. We started off with some of the new things that are coming up as Zimbabwe as a platform. There are new things that we are rolling out. Zimbabwe Daily, as you heard from the beginning of this show, that we are rebranding ourselves to Zimbabwe Daily, and we're launching a new shiny website from next week. And also we've looked at the latest news from Zimbabwe. And thank you all those that have taken part through the comment section. And those that have just been listening to us tonight, may God bless you and may He watch over you as you go to bed tonight. It's exactly 27 minutes after 11 p.m. in the part of the world where I am. Good evening to everyone, and to those that are joining us from down under, we want to say good morning to you. For those in Zimbabwe, we know that it's way past midnight, coming to almost half past midnight. And those listening to us from South America and some parts of the Americas, we say good afternoon to you, and may God bless you. Until we meet again on this very platform, thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye. All right, just before I sign out, actually, I have I was going to play this song. This is a brand new song from Paul Mazzore, right? Manyara Reiko, Zimbabwe, right? So I'm going to play this song. Just bear with me for a minute as I just bring. This is a brand new song. Tisarambe Taka Nyarara, and you are hearing it first here on Zim Daily. I don't think it's been released yet, but we managed to get hold of it the past few days. So let me just give me a second while I bring this song. This is a beautiful song that is quite relevant to the times that we are in right now as Zimbabweans. We in Zimbabwe Manyare Rico. So just give me 1 minute as I put together this song. Yes, once again, this the track that you're going to be listening to here is from Paul Mazzori, Zimbabwe, Manyarareko. I'm just trying to make sure that there is some sound here. Might just have to do something here. Hold on, because I'm trying to find the sound.